I met this girl when I was 10 years old, and what I loved most, she had so much soul. Hey everybody, it's Old School Heart. Happy Wednesday to you guys. I know that some of you guys have been stimulated, and so congratulations to you. I know that that extra money will be a help to you and your family. If you have not looked at my last video that I posted on Sunday, go ahead and look at that video where I discuss the need for Black people to tell other Black people what to do with their money, specifically as we get our stimulus checks and our tax checks and things like that. I wanted to give you some historical context on where that may come from. And so if you've not done that yet, go ahead and look at that video. But happy Wednesday to you guys. I hope everyone is doing very, very well. It has been a crazy day for me. I'm not going to even lie. I had to go to the DMV, and if anybody knows anything about the DMV, especially here in Chicago, it is chaotic. So I was sent to one DMV and then told to go to another one. I get to that one, and people are literally wrapped around the building, like literally. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be here all day, and I'm a little tired. I have a video to do. And I was just like, oh, okay, I'll just have to toughen it out. And I got out of my car. I said some affirmations like, it's going to get done today. It's going to get done today. And literally, y'all, it took me 10 minutes because what I needed, I did not have to stand in line for. So I am excited that I am home, that it's not been a long day for me. It was not chaotic. And so, man, anybody knows anything about the DMV? Like, there's like DMVs in Chicago that are closed down since some of the riots took place here in Chicago. And so, man, it's a lot going on. And so I just hope that everybody is doing well. So I am not going to have you wait any longer. Let's get into today's video. A story that's been told a million times is worth telling again until it's finished. So this is the story of the disappearance of Tionda and Diamond Bradley. Where My Girls At, episode 3. Now, the reason why I started this journey on telling stories of missing Black women alongside countless others who are also doing the work is because the media disregards Black women. A lot of times what we end up having to do is to basically get angry at these media outlets or make complaints in order for these Black women's missing stories to be told nationwide. But particularly with this case, Tionda and Diamond Bradley, that wasn't the case at all. From the beginning, these two little girls received wide media coverage. So let's start from the beginning. So the date was July 6, 2001. The mom, Tracy Bradley, was up getting ready for work. She worked at a local summer lunch program about a couple of blocks from where her and her girls resided. Now, Tracy has to leave out to make it to the summer lunch program at 6:30 a.m. So she leaves Tionda, who's 10, and Diamond, who's 3, home alone. But what she always does is around lunchtime, a little bit before lunchtime, she always comes back just to check up on the girls, get them ready to go if they are going to be leaving the house with her or going somewhere else. So that's something that she always does. Now, it's also understood that, you know, the girls, if anybody came to the house or if anybody knocked on the door, they were not to answer it. A lot of times, because it was early in the morning, Tionda and Diamond were still pretty much asleep during the time. So about 11:30 a.m., mom does what she always does. She returns home to check on the girls. But when she opens the door and she goes throughout the house, she does not see Tionda or Diamond anywhere. But she doesn't automatically panic because she knows that she's always instructed the girls to not go anywhere far. So what does she do? She checks around the neighborhood. She checks at the park. She checks at the local school, and she cannot find them at all. So then what she does is, like, she calls family members, of course, and she asks them, have they seen Diamond and Tionda? Where is Diamond and Tionda? And they start to help her in her quest to look for these young ladies, because it's unlike them to just leave the house and not say anything or not inform her. And so she is making sure she has looked everywhere for these girls. So Tracy, family, and friends are searching all over for Tionda and Diamond, and they are not finding these girls. And so about 6 p.m. that night, they go ahead and call Chicago Police Department and report the girls missing. Now, this is what Mom says, that when she got back to the house initially, she went, looking all around the house to see where Tionda and Diamond were at. Like, she was looking all over. And she went to the back of the house and she found a note that was supposedly written by Tionda, the 10-year-old, of course, that said that her and Diamond were either going to the park or they were going to Tionda's school. So that's where Tracy and family and friends look. They look all over that area. The school, the park, inside the school, outside of the school, around the school. They look all in those areas. They look all in the park near their home, and they cannot find Diamond and Tionda. And so the next day, Chicago Police Department and the community that they lived in, they went all out in search of these little girls. We are talking like 100 police officers. They had air and water rescue or search teams. They had helicopters. They had Marine units. And the search went as far as Indianapolis, Indiana. Now, they're on the south side of Chicago. I'm in the south suburbs of Chicago, born, raised in the south suburbs of Chicago. So I'm that 100 part, but literally they are looking everywhere for these little girls. No stops, no place unturned. They are even looking in abandoned buildings. I looked at one article and it said that they looked in at least 300 abandoned buildings in the Chicagoland area trying to find Diamond and Tionda. Now, an article I read from the archives of the Chicago Tribune, the date was July 9th, 2001, also states that the community really banded together to try to help find Tionda and Diamond Bradley. They went all out. There was a neighbor who didn't like the white and black pictures that were put up around the south side of Chicago and other areas of Chicago. So she used her own printer, printed out really nice colored pictures of Diamond and Tionda, so that if these ladies were seen, they'd have a way better picture. I mean, there were community organizations that went all out. They were passing out flyers. They were knocking on doors. I mean, they pulled out all the stops in order to find these beautiful young girls, because it was such a mystery for a 10-year-old and a 3-year-old to just go and leave and not come back and not be heard of. And so they were really committed to trying to get these girls back to their mom. Now, at the time this happened, I was 17 years old, getting ready to go to college, really, really busy. But I remember all of the news coverage that Diamond and Tionda received, and their little pictures just coming across my news screen literally every night. I don't even remember a night that I did look at the news and I didn't see a picture of them, or being at a bus stop. Our bus is it's a CTA and then there's Pace. Pace had pictures of the two little girls right when you got on the bus or at the bus stops. Their pictures were everywhere. I remember, just like to this day, just being like, oh my gosh, like I don't know how anybody could take those two beautiful girls. And, this changed the way that a lot of parents were allowing their children to roam about Chicago. I remember looking at the news and the area in which Diamond and Tionda lived. I remember parents being like, my kids are not going outside at all. My kids have to stay in the house. Parents taking their children to the park with them and just watching them diligently. But I remember for a very long time, a lot of parents were in fear that there would be multiple child abductions or missing children. And so they were very cautious at the time. And I even remember my mother being like, you need to watch what you're doing. You need to watch where you're going. You need something. You need to say something to somebody. You need to make sure you're letting us know at all times where you're at, because these two little girls are gone. You may be older, but you can be the next one. And so it was very, very serious here. Now, from what Chicago Police Department could gather, they did not believe that the girls were abducted. But family, has said that Tionda wouldn't write a note and leave it at home. She just wouldn't do that. And the girls definitely would not just leave home without permission. So there was something very, very suspicious behind this whole abduction, because Tionda, even at her age of 10, knew better than to go off running anywhere. And so it was really, really different. It was really, really suspicious at the time. Now, all the family was questioned by police to gather more information about Diamond and Tionda, including all of the girls' fathers. Now, Diamond's father in particular was questioned because there was a custody battle going on between him and Tracy. Apparently, there was some suspicion surrounding who really was Diamond's father, or the paternity. There was a paternity suit between Tracy and Diamond's father. And they were going through that at the time. Now, Diamond's father's name was George Washington, or was supposed to be George Washington. So George was questioned early on with Tracy, because they were having a little bit of a paternity dispute. And so the cops were most definitely seeking him as a person of interest. Now, what I did find out was that George was determined not to have any involvement in the girl's disappearance. However, I will say this, and I've heard this on multiple articles, reports, and everything like that. Now, even though he wasn't involved in the case, they said that he had purchased some bleach and some gloves the same week that Diamond and Tionda went missing. Now, I don't know if Chicago Police Department kept him on as a person of suspicion, but there was a lot of suspicion surrounding this George Washington. And then what also is crazy is in George Washington's car, there was a piece of hair found. Now, unfortunately, during that time, they were unable to determine whose hair that was. They didn't know if it was Diamond's hair, Tracy's hair, or Tionda's hair, because I believe that Tracy and George had somewhat of an involvement. Yeah, I know. Like, this is a little bit crazy, because even though they were going through that child dispute, there were rumors that like her and George were kind of still kicking it, but then she had a couple of other people that she was dealing with. So don't know. I'm just gonna leave it there. Like, there's a lot of suspicions around like who she was dealing with, and it's a lot going on there. And I'm not hating on Tracy at all. You know, I don't care how many partners she had. It's really about the girls. But George did. There was cause to believe that George may have had something to do with the missing girls, but nothing ever came about. Now, CPD also questioned Tionda and Diamond's other sisters. Now, Tracy actually has 4 girls. Now, the 2 other girls were not at the home at this time. I believe that, you know, one of the things is she would have left all 4 of the girls at home. Now, Tionda was the second oldest child of Tracy's. She did have an older sister, and then there was a sister underneath her and Diamond in the middle. And those were the 2 girls that were not at home. I believe the oldest was with another family member spending the night, or with their father. And the other one, I believe, the one between Tionda and Diamond, she was celebrating a birthday. So she was with her other family members as well. And so the plan actually that weekend was Tracy was going to come home, get the girls ready to go. And they were going to go camping in Indianapolis, I believe, or somewhere in Indianapolis, like a campsite. Just to celebrate the sister's birthday and everything like that. And so that's what Tracy was coming home to get the girls kind of ready, to reunite them with the other sisters so they could actually go celebrate. Get this. While Tracy is being interviewed by police about the disappearance of Tionda and Diamond, one of her family members checks her phone for missed calls and voicemails that maybe Tracy didn't listen to, and they find one from 8:30 that morning, July 6th, 8:30 or 9 a.m. that morning, from Tionda. And on that voicemail it says that Tionda says, "Hey, George is here at the door. What he's saying is that we are going to go with him. We're going to go and pick up a cake, and then we're going to come and pick you up from work. Okay, mommy? So we're going to go with George." Now, in the voicemail, Tionda doesn't tell exactly what George they're going with, because they know more than one George. There's Diamond's father, George Washington, and then they also know a neighbor who used to keep them quite frequently, named George as well. And so the voicemail, the Chicago Police Department, they hear this voicemail, but get this, y'all. Like, somehow, I don't know why, the cell phone or the voicemail hasn't been recorded or kept kept for safekeep. And so somehow on Tracy's phone it gets deleted. Now keep in mind, y'all, this is 2001. That means that there is no iPhone yet. And I know, yeah, the iPhone did not come out in 2001. This is the early part of 2001. So you're talking maybe Nextel phones, Prime America here in Chicago. So, I mean, it's very well that the phone couldn't hold but maybe 1 or 2 voicemails. And because the girls were missing, I know a lot of people were probably calling to give her tips or to just give her some form of encouragement as they were looking for these girls. And so very well could be that, I mean, the phone was kind of janky. It's 2001. Let's just know, we understand that, right? Now, what I can't do is I can't tell you this story and not be completely honest. So early on, Tracy is found to be very suspicious. Like, people are side-eyeing Miss Tracy, including Chicago Police Department. Many people during that time could not fathom why Tracy would allow a 10-year-old to take responsibility for a 3-year-old. Like, she literally left them alone. A lot of people had a hard time with that. However, the search was so diligent and the people on the search were so diligent that they kind of just pushed suspicion of Tracy to the side in order to keep the focus on the girls. Now, after a couple of days of questioning and media attention, Tracy became uncooperative with police. She ended up hiring a lawyer and did not make any public appearances, which I'm just gonna I'm gonna say it's not necessarily a good look. Not only that, like, she declined even coming to like a search party that the community had put together, and rightfully so. Like, she's probably distraught at this time, like is not in her right mind. But a lot of the community felt like the least that she could do is to say, like, maybe thank you, or come out there for like a second or two and not say nothing. Black people love to love on you. I mean, they love to give gift offerings, especially when you're going through something, cake, food. We are that type of people. Anytime, let somebody die in your family and see if you don't get 5 cakes in about an hour. So that's the type of people we are. And unfortunately, people can get rubbed off, especially when they feel like you aren't as attentive, especially when your kids are missing. You are attentive as they are trying to be to assist you. Now, one website said that Tracy shoved a police officer who requested that she accompanied him to the police station for questioning in early 2002. So the girls, left in July, and then I believe in March 2002 they asked her to just come in so they can follow up with some things, because they're literally still trying to search for this girl. And she like pushed them, she shoved them, and unfortunately they literally had to arrest her. And that's how they were able to investigate her, by arresting her. Now, she also missed several appointments that she committed to with detectives as well during the time. She missed them. She would not come. And that raised a lot of suspicion as well. Now, a lot of people at the time were unaware that she was doing this. But CPD most definitely was, kind of taking notes on just her behavior, how she was responding to certain things. Now, I will say this in Tracy's defense. Early on, they asked her to take a polygraph. She takes the polygraph. They find nothing wrong in that polygraph. They say that she is not lying. She's just really suspicious. And we're going to get on that a little later in this episode. Now, Tracy didn't do a lot of interviews, a lot of speaking at all. You actually can't find a lot of articles where Tracy has even made a statement. But there is one from her in particular that I did find interesting. And that was Tracy admitted that a lot of the moves that she made in the beginning was because she was in fear of losing her other 2 girls. And so what we deemed to be just incompetence on her end, or difficulty on her end, was a need to protect the girls that were already, that she still had, her 2 other daughters. Now, we talked about this in episode 1, the disappearance of Alicia Rudd. Black women, specifically, Black mothers, are less likely to immediately report a child missing, especially if they have had prior cases with Child and Family Services, or if they have more than one child, because we know what happens with that. Let me read something that I found in an article that I looked up. It said, while African American children represent 15% of the nation's children, they account for 45% of the foster care populations, and are 4 times more likely as white children to be in foster care. Now, that was something that was found from Child Welfare League of America. Researchers have established that overrepresentation of African American women and children in the child welfare system is in part due to structural inequalities, prejudices within the system itself. So you can understand why Tracy may have not been forthcoming with police, because what we see is through history and time is that black women have structurally, systematically been investigated by child welfare services at a higher rate than anyone else. They are more than likely the ones who will lose children due to suspicion and other things. Rehabilitation, especially in the 90s, was not even really given to the mother before their child was taken. Their child was taken first, and then, they were required to try to rehabilitate. I even talked about this on crack cocaine and conspiracy of crack cocaine on Netflix, where, even a black woman who basically shows a concern about motherhood is seen as a threat to the children that she's raising, right? Like, even on that crack cocaine and conspiracy, there was a black woman who was at the doctor and was like, hey, I'm a little bit stressed because I'm taking care of all of these kids. I'm trying to meet ends meet, and I did crack once. And she told that to a doctor, to try to, see if there was something else that can be done to relieve the stress. And he called the police on her. And so even the idea of just communicating that, as a black woman, single black mother, that having a hard time with children, or you're having a hard time with children, how they take that as negligence. Instead of providing some type of support, a lot of times they took anything that the black mother did as negligence. So a system that was supposed to assist in helping the black female, the black mother, take care of her child, was a system that really ultimately didn't give too many I'm trying to think of the word right now. That didn't give too many chances, right, to help the parent. There was no chances. There was no slacking. If there was slacking, children were gone. And so that is probably one of the reasons why Tracy, because she could tell through history, through the people that lived around her. We're talking south side of Chicago. She knew better. And so that is probably why she made the moves that she made. And not only that, she had a lawyer as well. And the lawyer may have been telling her a different number of things in order to keep her and those other two girls protected and safe. Now, sometimes I listen to podcasts, and one of the ones that I particularly like is True Crime. I think it's True Crime podcast. Crime Junkie. Okay, Crime Junkie podcast. And I like the style of those two women. But I will say this, as a black woman, and these are two white females raised in Indianapolis, I love that they kind of gave you a little background about the structural, systematic systems regarding, the reasons why Tracy may have done what she done, and, we're giving her exceptions for that. One of the things I found that they did not quite understand, and this is because it's cultural more than anything, they probably don't understand this, but one of the things that we should talk about is if you are poor and you're African American like Tracy, affording a permanent babysitter is just not possible. Even in 2001, it just wasn't possible. Now, she, like many other single mothers, have had to rely on older siblings to look after the younger siblings in order for the mother to make a living, especially to supplement the money that they may have been receiving from government assistance. Government assistance was not enough. Mothers, especially single mothers, still had to work. So Tracy is not the first to do this in our culture, to have their older kids look after the younger kids. A lot of mothers have had to use them to go to work or run errands. Single moms just could not afford to not have a job at all, or to lose a job due to child supervision. So most kids watched kids. And we all knew as kids, we all knew the rules, right? You don't let anyone in the home. You do not answer the door. You pretty much act like you are not there at all. That was a rule that was across the board culturally if you were going to be home alone as a child. And so I'm sure that Tracy gave those rules to those kids as well. So it wasn't uncommon what Tracy was doing. And there are still some who hold her accountable for her actions on July 6, 2001. However, she was never really investigated by Child and Family Services. And the other two girls that she did have remained with her. And they are living and doing quite well. They're grown and living and doing quite well. Now, CPD continued their search for the girls. They remained diligent for 100 days and beyond. The family even hired a private investigator. That investigator remained on this case for 10 years. He had never seen anything like this before, and he retired off of this investigation. Now, there is a police detective by the name of Ed Carell from CPD who stated that he had accumulated more than 5 file cabinets of information on Tionda and Diamond Bradley. Now, this case is just like a movie to me. Like, literally, it reminds me of a movie. Unfortunately, as much as this case was publicized, it came with other problems. Like, during the first couple of days alone, CPD received over 1,000 tips. 1,000 tips that led to nowhere, unfortunately. One in particular came from a psychic who said that the girls were taken out of the country by a Moroccan man. And the crazy part is that Diamond's father, or alleged father, George Washington, is of Moroccan descent. But once again, that led to nowhere. Even though George stopped participating in helping the search for this case, like he stopped along with Tracy on helping the family, but it was said, the psychic said that it was a Moroccan man and they went overseas with these two girls. Now, on top of that, as the years go by, right, they are still diligent in their search for finding Diamond and Tionda. They've created Facebook groups, they've had chats and different things like that as the years have went on. A lot of them done by their great aunt. Now, a young lady did claim to be Tionda and came out and was like, you know, I've always been here. I am Tionda. She was saying all of this stuff online. She sent photos to the great aunt, you know, telling her different things about the case and stuff like that, who she was, and that Diamond was with her and that they were doing well. They both had kids and different things like that. And so the aunt was diligent about following up on this, only to find out that this young lady was playing them from the get-go. Her name was Lele. She was from Texas. People were saying Lele just was out of her mind and was just using this story, you know, to gain publicity, to gain a name. And that's just uncalled for. Like, whoever Lele is, I hope that you have sought mental health therapy for what you did, because you don't play like that. You know, you don't do that. And so unfortunately, a lot of these leads, even the detective said, and the family's pastor said, a lot of these leads went to nowhere, and it was so chaotic for the family, and also heartbreaking because they wanted Diamond and Tionda back. Now, before I end this video, let's talk about Tionda and Diamond. Tionda was very, very street smart for a 10-year-old girl. They said that she was a really happy girl, but she was something else. Like, she was really witty. And Diamond literally followed after Tionda. She loved her some Tionda. That was her sister. And it kind of reminds me of the relationship that I have with my younger sister Jamila. She literally followed me everywhere. We were 7 years apart, and so just like them, actually, we're 7 years apart. So these two girls were just loved by their family. They were some beautiful girls. They were very much spoiled girls, or well-loved girls. And you know, they were just sweet children. So there is an updated picture of Tionda and Diamond that can be found on most missing black women websites or missing children websites. I will upload that here so that you're able to see it. The family has been diligent about their search for the girls. Each year they hold like a vigil, not necessarily a vigil, but a memorandum or something on the date that the girls went missing, which is July 6, 2001. So it has almost been 20 years since they've been gone. This July, it will be 20 years. Now, their mom, Tracy, has since moved away from the area. The two older girls, as I stated before, are grown. They even had one sister who was a big basketball star here in Chicago. And so, you know, they've been keeping themselves quiet into themselves, but still very, very diligent about finding the girls. If you have any information involving this case or Diamond and Tionda, please list it below. I will also leave the search information or who you can contact in order if you have any information about this case. Let me know if you've heard anything about the case. Do you remember the story of Tionda and Diamond Bradley? I love to hear from you guys. So once again, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Where My Girls At. This is episode 3. Tionda and Diamond Bradley. You guys have a great rest of the night. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It's so important so that you're updated on what I will be talking about next. I'll see you Sunday for another cultural discussion.